All right, so we're slowly working on getting this floor section mocked up and put in. Where I left it before was I needed to trim a little bit here. So I kind of made what I think is a fairly conservative cut line, and I'm going to cut it to about right here for now. Trim that off, and we're going to do another test fit. A couple things that I found were this A-post pillar that I put in was kind of getting in the way, so I've bent it a little bit. This is an item that I recall on the other side also interfered a little bit, but it was pretty well cut up, and I had to replace a lot of the bottom piece, and I did that and was able to work with it. This is a whole new panel. So I almost would consider doing this after the floor if I were to do it again. So it just made sense to replace it because I had done the other one that way. So let's cut that before we do anything. So I cut that line pretty conservative. I had drawn a little more out, but I want to test fit. I don't want to cut too much away. I'd rather test fit a few times. I did a pretty sloppy job at it too. All right, let's fit this up. Up there. I think we're fitting a little better here now. Cinch that down for now. That's not as tight as it should be, but let's try this one. So I remember this on the other side. I had to kind of push the floor piece in and get it to line up. So I'll fix that later. I think we held that with Clecos, but for now I want to get it lined up. And I want to see how we're looking here. So that helped. So I'm still hitting a little here, so it looks like I can, let me show you on this one. See, got the lines are starting to line up here. Actually, there's some good stuff that's lining up. So this bump in the floor panel is lining up with the corresponding bump here. Our line here is pretty good. Interestingly enough, this is out far. I found that a little interesting. Like, how does that line up, but that jet out a little bit? And it almost looks like I could probably hammer this in a little bit and bend it, and then I'll bend that down. It's not going to be too bad. But that's a good reference point. This is another good reference point here. That looks like it's lining up, and we'll be able to bring that in. The part that I'm looking at, hopefully you can see this, but along here, looks like I could probably trim a little bit here. I'll take a closer look at that. You're probably getting a better view than I'm getting. So I'll lean down and take another look at that. And then, like I was saying up here, this floor piece, or the bulkhead of the firewall, on the one that we did before, we had the same issue where we actually pushed it in a little bit to get it to line up. And it's probably hard to see on camera, but if you kind of looked at it, you'd see that there's just a tiny little bit where they're out, and you can check with a straight edge as well. So we'll get that to line up. I know before I had done some measurements, so let me grab my measuring tape and do that again. Now, obviously, measuring from here to the bolt hole, not really gonna tell me much because they're poked into the panels. So what I want to do is compare it to another fixed piece of the car. So I'll come here and don't know if you can see that, but it looks like right at 10 if I hold that like that. So let's see if I loosely do it here. And I'm just like a 1/4 inch, not even, like 1/8 of an inch difference. Let's try that again. If I do this here. Actually, that looks a lot closer. If I put it on that, straight on the floor piece there, on that little ridge, and then come up to it, straight on that floor piece ridge, come up to it. It's close. So it looks to me like this piece down here, and that actually matches with what I'm seeing here. This piece needs to go forward like 1/8 of an inch. 1/8 of an inch difference between those two little bolts. And these are just the seat bolts. So this isn't super important. What is important is when I get these pieces on, which bolt to the frame, I want to make sure I get those right. So honestly, as long as we get our frame rail pieces lined up, I'm leaning down so you can see, I think we'll be in good shape. For me, I'd prefer to measure to see where I'm at and get a good idea, but also visualizing it for straightness. You can't really do that because if I were to set this on the part that's actually molded in, actually, that's fairly level, believe it or not. I would not have guessed that. It's not perfectly level, but it's actually pretty close. So if I know that that's level, and I put this here and that there, am I equally level? I'll eyeball it for now. Eyeball it and eyeball it. That's not quite level. Well, no, actually, that's pretty close. I'm not in the center. Let me get more to the center on both of them. That's actually pretty level. So, believe it or not, a couple really quick basic measurements, we actually got this pretty close. So, I'm going to do a couple more measurements because I'm in the measure 17,000 times, cut once kind of realm. And then we'll do it. And I'm hoping that, you know, this is one of my first tries putting a big floor pan in where I couldn't replace the whole thing. And I ended up having to add a piece. And I overall was not the most happy person with how this came out. And it's in our video, we documented it. In the end, I'm happy with how it came out, and we'll smooth all that down and it'll be under the car and look nice. It looks great on the other side. But this one, I'm trying to get a little closer and just learn from this one and get it a little bit better in and get it measured up. So let me take a look under here and see. So I would need to push this down another, you know, 1/4, 1/2 inch. We'll call it 3/8. So I could trim a little bit more here and still be butted up against that. If I follow this original cut line I made, this cut line's actually pretty accurate. I made this cut line like 2 weeks ago because I got caught up doing other stuff. So it actually works. So I was having a little interesting time with this hitting that, which means I'm really getting close. I know that didn't make sense, but let me get this up here and see if we can make sense of it later. That clamp is tight. And I think I clamped it a little too far in. But we're sitting a lot closer here, and that's nice. Let me try from here. Huh. So that's really far over. All right, I'm still not getting there. I'm missing something. I do notice I'm hitting here. So I need to trim a little of the top here. This right here was hitting a little bit. Not much, just seemed like 1/8 of an inch, if that. Okay, let's try one more fitment. All right, now that's lining up. And that's pretty close. All right. So I'm pretty confident that we have it. Just a tiny bit up. Like that. Cinch it right there. All right, so let's measure and write out, see what we get. That's about 7. And that's about 7. All right. And All right, I got them. I'm happy with that. So, what that means is, at least for the back, I'm going to put some Clecos in. Before I lose it, let me clamp the crap out of this. So this is a 3/16 Cleco. It is. All right. Next one. There's one. Clecos are awesome, by the way. Or aircraft fasteners, if you're looking for them on Amazon. Maybe I'll look them up and post them. All right, so now that that's there, and you notice I haven't really done any here. I could probably do one in this, so let me move this clamp down here. I can do one right there. But the main reason is that I'm still going to want to trim this a little bit the way it butts up, as you can see. So I just want to get really what I'm getting right now is the position of the floor this way. Then what I'll work on, obviously this way is fine, but what I'll work on is the tunnel and the lip here and getting that here. So I guess I'm doing this way and this way, but focusing on this attachment point will be a little later. All right, look at that. Clecos are in. A lot of them. So we should be able to pull off all of these clamps. And that'll stay. Stay, good dog. Then I should be able to come back here. And now that that's all clean, this isn't really gonna move. I'm gonna need to move the firewall in to accommodate it. This lip over here, I added to, if I recall. So this is actually a pretty deep lip. And in fact, let's look at our other one. I actually trimmed the lip, I can see, because I'm feeling back here, there's not much lip at all. And then look at here, there's a lot of overriding. So we're gonna match up here when we push this in, watch. That's good. We want this to be pretty much the same. Well, it fell, but like that. All right, hold. Like that. All right, hold tight. Like that. So if you see here, I got this to line up pretty good with a little bit of a lip here. Same deal, I got this to line up good, a little bit of a lip here. The way that comes down, the way that comes down looks about similar. And we've got plenty of lip contact there. Let me see if I can put. Yes, perfect. But this is good stuff. This is about where I want it to be. Look at the one that I did prior, and it matches up. So I'm gonna go ahead and drill and cleco the rest of this, and I'm not sure what else we'll do today, because well, it's getting a little late already, and I gotta walk the dogs, do some other stuff around the house. So, but if I can get to the milestone of having this floor clecoed with holes that I can replicate that, I'm gonna know I'm in pretty good shape. And then I can start thinking about and planning out how I want to attack this seam. And then we're going to be ready to make some good progress, because this is the anchor for everything else that goes up here. And things speed up when you get this anchor in place. All right, well, we'll catch up with more. Can you still see me? All right, we'll catch up with more here on Vortex Garage.